Welcome back, fellow investors. What's it been like now? Week 3, 4, 5. I'm losing the amount of weeks that we've been in lockdown for. For some of us it's 3, for some of us it's 6, and for some of us it seems like it's forever. Now for me, I haven't really felt it. Like most of the things I actually do are online, playing video games, making YouTube video, watching content. But let me know how this quarantine period is affecting you guys. Are you guys starting to lose it? You know, what's going on working from home? How's that going for you? Are you home with the kids? So anywho, instead of talking about travel stocks and pandemics, which is what I've been doing within the past 2 weeks or so, I thought I would start a new mini-series talking about the Australian wax stocks. Not that type of wax, this type of wax. Now, if you're not familiar with what the wax stocks are, they're basically the Australian version of the FANG stocks. That's Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google, which Microsoft should be in there also, but then that would just throw out the whole acronym. So if you're unfamiliar with the wax stocks, the acronym stands for the following companies: WiseTech, Appen, Afterpay, Altium, and Xero, which make up the Australian tech stock companies comparable to the FANG stocks. Not in terms of market cap, of course, but they are Australian. So given we're covering these 5 tech stocks in Australia, I thought I'd go through it in chronological order, with the first one being WiseTech. So today really I just wanted to cover WiseTech, the logistics business and its operations. And like I've mentioned in other videos, guys, I really don't know these businesses, to a large extent. I know about them briefly because I've heard about them in podcasts, I've read about them online and all that type of stuff. So my venture today in talking about WiseTech, I'm looking at it from scratch. I'm trying to learn it in a way that's understandable for me and then put it onto a YouTube video, so hopefully you guys can benefit from this also. So if there's anything that I have missed out, please put it in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts about the company, if you have any thoughts at all, or if you found this very valuable. But of course, in every single video, please smash the like button for me. It really does help push the video out there and helps others learn about stocks as well and businesses. Now, before I go into the company, I want to give a little summary of the logistics process and describe somewhat how it operates, which really provides the context and the story behind the numbers. So what they basically solve is the complexity revolving around logistics, and I'm going to use a bottle of coconut water as an example. Now, to talk about this process, I really want to start from the very beginning in the manufacturing process. Okay? So let's say the bottles are made in China somewhere. They're shipped over to Thailand, where the coconut is grown and the coconut water is extracted. During that transaction alone, we have the natural materials that have to be obtained to get the bottles, which involves people power and the vehicles that extract and ship it to the plant to create the plastic. The plastic is then made, boxed, and needs to complete legal clearance at departure and arriving, meeting all the legal obligations required. It then needs to be stored in a storage facility and then needs to be distributed. Now that's a lot of people power, money, coordination that's required to make a normal transaction occur. And there are many issues that can occur during this whole operation in the supply chain. For example, if paperwork isn't correct, it'll hold up everything. Or if there's stock missing, that could be thousands to millions of dollars in cost. Due to the amount of contact points and tracking a logistics company would have to deal with, WiseTech then comes in and introduces an all-in-one system that is seamless to streamline all of this operation into one application. Now we can see in the screenshot here that they deal with a large range of issues from customs, warehousing, geo-compliance, and a range of other aspects that can repopulate info and anything that's required for the customer. They currently have a large amount of partners, which include also the big boys in DHL and Toll. So it's already got a solid footing in the logistics store that seems to be continuing to grow. The business or software that holds all of this together that it mainly uses and advertises is called CargoWise. So now that we have a very basic understanding of the business and I guess the solutions that it provides, let's look at some of the numbers and statistics behind that. So they got on the ASX in 2016 and started at $6 and has seen highs of $36 and has been on a downward trend since then. To see why they've seen a spike in the price in 2019, let's look at the annual report. The first thing I noted was the massive growth they've had from 2018 to 2019 in revenue by 57% in 1 year, and a net profit increase by 33% to $54.1 million. Now, the reason why this is such a big deal is when you think about a lot of the growth companies and the businesses that have come out recently, like I'm thinking of Afterpay in particular, but we can use American examples like Uber, Netflix. Most of these growth stocks and companies, they have a great product, they have a great story, they've told it very well. The market understands how it operates, but none of them are really profitable. And so the reason why we see such high prices for these companies is that people are factoring in for the potential in growth and the potential of profitability in the future. Like I would take a solid bet that if Afterpay announced that it actually made its first profit, it would jump upwards to $45 a share easily. It's already past $40, $42 without even making a profit. So $45, $50 isn't that big of a gamble. General advice, of course. Another awesome stat for me to see is the diversification within clients and customers that they have. They've currently got many of the big players already in their books as clients, but none of the players themselves actually comprise of more than 5% of their client base and business. Now, the reason this is important is that they diversified the forms of revenue by not being reliant on one customer. An example of this might be where let's say like a microchip company who makes microchips for phones, they are reliant on a Samsung or an Apple. And if any of those businesses were to go in trouble, their 40 to 60% of their revenue could be cut just like that. Because maybe Apple's created their own chip, Samsung's created their own chip or whatever, and they've done things in-house and they are no longer reliant on that specific company. That's when you're not diversified and are just relying on one main customer. So for WiseTech, let's say DHL has some issues in logistics or the mismanagement related, and they formed 20% of WiseTech's revenue, then they'd be losing a large portion of their income. So by spreading it out evenly, it's like diversifying your portfolio. So with this big source of revenue, you have a few options, right? And I like what WiseTech has decided to do, which is reinvested into their R&D as opposed to putting more money out into marketing. In an interview with ComSec, the CEO, Richard White, mentioned that they want to be the leader in the logistics software, and to do that, they have to continue to invest in R&D. And the byproduct of having such a strong software that services their clients' needs is that they'll have a smaller attrition rate, which basically at the moment is less than 1% of their customers already. Now, I like the thought process behind this because they're basically looking to be the leader long term and to improve the software they have now, as opposed to trying to capture anyone and everyone within the market just to jump on board. Another thing to note is that although they have offices and a lot of resources in R&D, they are a cloud-based service. So the business won't have a huge ongoing expense, and it's working in a space where it helps its end user decrease their cost of service and increase efficiency by having a cloud service that's accessible anywhere in the world. Now, the way I see it, any business that can help another business decrease its cost and increase efficiency is a must in these times. However, recently we've seen a huge decline within their share price, and this is due to the report and claims by J Capital, based in China, of WiseTech misreporting their numbers and not accounting for the losses in their acquisitions of companies from abroad. This has had many people question the business, especially when the CEO, Richard White, owns over 40% of the business. That would suggest that there's a huge incentive not to report particular losses. All of these accusations WiseTech has denied, along with their auditor, KPMG. So I'll leave this up to you in regards to what your thoughts are, and if you want to invest into WiseTech, having a further dig into some more of these accusations. So with the RONE, of course, there's questions as to whether logistics is still functioning at the same levels, or there's still room for growth to be had with people staying at home and the pandemic amongst us. It seems like WiseTech does not seem too concerned with the projection of growth still on the way, as they're a cloud-based business and goods are still needing to be transported. And I mean, they're not wrong there. It's basically people just who aren't traveling anymore. I'm still buying things off the shelves and somebody needs to ship them there. But WiseTech has announced that there will be a slight offset in growth in the next financial year with the slower rollout in products that they have been working on, which is good to see. They're bolstering their lines of services with all this investment in R&D. They haven't had to raise capital because they have currently $233 million in liquid cash. Now, if there's one thing that we've seen in the past couple of weeks is there's capital raisings. So for a company who hasn't had to raise capital, and I don't think any of the WAX stocks have really raised capital actually, that's really good. That's really good. This is one of the many benefits of developing a SaaS business, as people can work remotely and all the data and software is online. Now, in my overall opinion, if you think there's still lots of room for growth, then it might not be a bad buy given the highs of $30. But given they have acquired a large portion of the big dogs in the logistics game, I would then query how much room for growth is there much left? And even within the current clients, how many more issues can you solve? Do you start charging a bit more? And if you start charging a bit more, do people start leaving? I just wonder where their other sources of revenue are going to come from, having already captured so many of the big leaders in the space. But that's it for me, guys. Leave your comments in below. Let me know your thoughts about WiseTech. Have you ever heard of them before? What are your thoughts on them now? What are your thoughts on logistics? Just leave anything in the comments below. Remember to smash the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel for some more content. And next week will be the next installment on the WAX mini series in Appen. Catch you guys later. Cheers.